So here we are, 6 weeks after the start of my little experiment, and I haven't touched a single drop of alcohol. And now I'm sat here after my first Target event with the possibility of ordering a beer. Will I or will I not? What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. I have a little bit of a different video for you today. I ran a little experiment a couple of weeks ago and I would like to share with you how that went. For a little while now, I've been toying with the idea of completely cutting out alcohol from my life. Now, if you start looking into this sort of stuff, then you come across a lot of content that revolves around going from a lot of alcohol to no alcohol. I guess that's because that type of content delivers more bang for your buck. It's a bigger impact. But for people like me who consume alcohol at a moderate level, there's not an awful lot out there in terms of what happens to your body or what's the difference or what's the impact when you go from minimal alcohol consumption to zero. Is there any difference? I tried looking this up, but I didn't really find much, if anything. So I thought, well, why don't I just go ahead and give it a try and see if it does make a difference? So that is exactly what I did. For a period of about 6 weeks, I completely cut out alcohol from my life, and that period coincided nicely with a final preparation for my first Gran Fondo race of the season. What I did is the following. Every week throughout that period at a set time, I just sat down in front of the camera and kind of recorded how I felt, what my experience was at that moment in time, because I kind of wanted to capture it as I was going through it. Now, before we dive in, I just want to give you a little bit of perspective on my history and background with alcohol so that we can properly frame this. I, at this moment in time, enjoy consuming about 1 to 2 alcoholic drinks a week. These typically happen after one of my training rides at the weekend. It's kind of a ritual experience. Sit down, have a good beer, sit back, relax. Yes, the training is done. Wow, that was good. 1 or 2 on a Saturday and a Sunday, and then throughout the week, I don't drink. That's kind of the level of minimal alcoholic consumption that we're talking about here. In my younger years, I did, let's say, consume alcohol at somewhat of a higher level, particularly during my partying years where party equals alcohol. And yeah, to a degree where hangovers were a very regular occasion. Now, I do want to make it very clear that this video is just me recording what I went through and how, if any, differences were noticed as I went from minimal alcohol consumption to none. I'm not trying to recommend anything here. I'm not trying to steer anybody in any direction. This is just me sharing what I thought would be a cool and interesting concept. And I just hope that maybe it is somewhat interesting to other people out there who have considered going from minimal alcohol to none. All right, so let's get started with video number 1. This is the one that I recorded on the evening before I started the experiment. I feel pretty neutral, actually, about the fact that I'm going to go and have my last beer before I embark on this little experiment test. Actually, in fact, I feel more positive than I feel neutral, because honestly, I've had my fair share of alcohol over the past couple of days, given, the holiday break, New Year's Eve celebration. So I drank more than I normally do. I'm actually quite happy about the fact that I'm gonna, call it quits for a little while. So curious to see as well how I'm gonna get on, but eager to get started. Not a great deal to report, if I'm being perfectly honest, and that is kind of exactly what I expected. For the longest time, I haven't drank anything during the week. And so the first couple of days of this project challenge have been exactly as they would have always been, in that I didn't drink. So yeah, pretty uneventful, pretty smooth. I obviously don't feel any different because, again, I'm not into uncharted territory just yet. I maybe felt a slight pull to have a beer this weekend at one time. We went out for a little stroll with the family on Saturday afternoon. We then sat down in a quaint little cool cafe bar. For a split second, I thought, it'd be nice to have a beer, but then I just had a coffee and a pancake with Lily and Hannah, and that was that, really. So yeah, I can't really, report more than that. Let's see how this week will transpire, and I will report back 2 weeks in. Okay, update time. I have just had a very solid week at work. I've been banging out tasks right, left, and center, high impact tasks, might I add. Really working on pushing the company forward, working on pivotal stuff, and really feeling and kind of pushing the momentum forward. And it's all happened pretty effortlessly, comfortably, kind of like being in a state of flow. The writing and the training has been the best it's been since I started again after the off season. I've been hitting numbers that have been the highest since the restart, and it felt good, very comfortable as well. So yeah, now I've had those moments at work. I've had those kind of breakthrough moments and periods on the bike as well. Like, it's not like I'm seeing numbers that I haven't seen before, but yeah. Is that due to me not having touched a drink for 2 weeks? I'm having a hard time kind of believing that. I'm going to put this one down to coincidence, but it still is what it is. So yeah, let's see how we continue. Another week has gone by and the training has continued to be good. Numbers are increasing and the feeling is good. My Whoop numbers are also still very good. I'm continuing to recover well. I'm seeing a downward trend in my resting heart rate and an upward trend in my heart rate variability. So that's all positive. Not something I haven't had before, but again, you know, it's there and it's good to see. Then I went to a social event at the weekend where alcohol was very much part of the occasion. I made it clear that I wasn't drinking, and I had kind of half expected that to be a bit more of a challenge than it actually eventually ended up being. I had a pleasant afternoon. I ended up having a good couple of chats, and afterwards I was able to get onto the trainer and get a good solid 1 hour VO2 max session in, at the end of the day. And I felt very positive about that because that wouldn't have been something that I would have been able to do. I would have had to kind of schedule my training in so that I would have had the session before that event, because I knew that maybe if I had 1 or 2 drinks, the training wasn't going to happen. But this gave me the opportunity to actually fit my training in after that event, which kind of made me think, well, yeah, it's a pretty good reason not to drink because it gives you more time. But yeah, so that's this update this week. Yeah, feeling pretty good. Let's see how this week turns out to be. I will keep you updated. So yeah, not a whole lot to report this week. It's going to be relatively underwhelming because everything is pretty much the same. I don't really notice any difference in comparison to when I'm drinking. And that sounds a bit weird to say because, again, I don't know how much 1 drink a week was going to make a difference. My sleep is pretty much the same. My recovery is pretty much the same, as in when I'm training a lot, there's a lot of orange on my Whoop. And then now I'm in a recovery week. I'm deloading. So I've just had 2 days of peak green recovery, which is to be expected, means it's working, but that's also what it used to do when I did enjoy the occasional drink. So yeah, very much the same. Oh, the only thing I can say is that at the weekend I tried a non-alcoholic beer and it was god awful. I don't know whether it was the particular brand or type, which I won't mention, but it's not one I'm gonna try again. I'm not quite ready to give it up just yet. I might try 1 or 2 more because I do quite enjoy the ritual, as funny as that sounds, to be able to sit down at the weekend after a ride to have that beer. So I thought I'd give that a try. Wasn't very successful this week. So yeah, talk to you on the next update. So there you have it, 4 weeks in. And at that moment in time, I was going into the final 2 weeks ahead of the Gran Fondo. The very final week was a week of pretty heavy training in Gran Canaria. So of course I kept on not drinking during that period. And then eventually, once I finished stage 2 of the Epic Gran Canaria, I was quote unquote free and the challenge was over. So here we are, 6 weeks after the start of my little experiment, and I haven't touched a single drop of alcohol during the entire period to see whether or not it was going to make a difference to me as an amateur athlete. And now I am sat here after my first target event with the possibility of ordering a beer. Will I or will I not? for now, we're gonna stick to water. Now I know what you're thinking. Oh boy, another one of these alcohol is the devil / I stopped drinking and my life suddenly became amazing videos. Yeah, I get why you would be thinking that, but not really, because later that evening, as I found my feet and I sat down for dinner with the family, I ordered a very lovely San Miguel beer and very much enjoyed it as well. So then back to the initial question that prompted this video, did I notice any difference throughout this period? Well, yes and no. No in relation to feeling physically or emotionally different because of this change. Now, it's important to note that I'm talking about feeling. Perhaps if I were to do a lab test, some differences might be able to be shown to me, fair enough, but that's not the point in this video. I didn't feel any difference when I went from minimal alcohol consumption to none. And now, to be perfectly honest, I wasn't expecting this as well, so it's kind of just a confirmation of what I had thought. But nonetheless, that is the answer. Now, there is, however, a yes answer to that initial question as well, and that is in relation to, I guess, the necessity for alcohol. What I did realize that during that period of 6 weeks, the times where I had to consciously say no to alcohol, it ended up being a lot easier than I actually thought it was going to be. I guess somehow in my head, I made this out to be a bigger deal than it actually is. And I really wish I had a way to explain this more profoundly or in somewhat of a better way, but the way that I'm looking at it right now is simply the act of saying no and then sticking with that no is all you kind of need to do. Now, when I say need to do, if you want to do this, right? But I now have a different relationship with the concept of consuming alcohol. I still do at times because I enjoy it, and that sense of enjoyment and that sense of kind of, that ritual nature, being able to relax, it has some value to me. So I keep doing that. However, I do seem to have somehow created an extra switch in my mind where if I want to say no, I just say no. And I know that it's not that big of a deal. So that in and of itself is a realization, and I guess counts as a difference that I learned throughout this experience. If you're considering this, give it a shot. 4 weeks, 5 weeks. Don't go crazy with like a couple of months or a year or anything like that. Just set yourself a little goal. For me, it worked really well to kind of match that with a target that I had, because then I had an incentive to really do it, and then just see how you feel. All right, and with that, it's time to wrap the video. I want to thank each and every one of you for watching this one. A little bit of a different one, as I said, but I hope you got some value out of it. If you did, please click the like button. It would be massively appreciated. If you like some of the other stuff on the channel, that is of course more related to training and racing in Gran Fondo events, then consider subscribing to the channel. Again, that would be appreciated. Thank you, each and every one of you. Stay safe, stay healthy, enjoy what you're doing, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.